I want to ask you what they basically ask us. Now I want you to give like an honest answer. Like, are you happy in our marriage? We talk about our life a lot online. People can look at that and be like, are they truly happy?
The reality of your marriage is you're gonna fight. You're gonna argue. You're seeing us 8-9 years into marriage. We weren't always in this place.
We were arguing in the house. We were like annoyed with each other. There was a lot of resentment there. And I remember it was like, hey, all right, we need to go to therapy. One of the things that you were on me early on in marriage was like, dude, you don't create emotional safety for me. You know, and I didn't even really understood what that meant.
It took us years actually to grow into realizing you're not responsible for my happiness. I'm not responsible for yours. That's an inside job. A marriage is not supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to show you how to love the way that Jesus loves us.
Some might say, well, then what's the point of getting married? The reward is purpose and family. And guess what? The reward is happiness.
We don't believe that the perfect marriage exists.
Facts, but intentional ones do.
And over the years,
we've learned that it takes more than just love to build a life together.
This is the show where we share what's worked for us. This is
The Bailey Way. What's up, family? It's your boy Durelle.
And I'm Samantha.
And this is The Bailey Way. Y'all, we are back and ready to get this going. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. We love podcasting, you guys. We just love to talk. And we want to share our conversations with you guys.
Yeah. So we are in a phase of life now where we can actually do the podcast. We have time to dedicate to the pod. And God has opened some doors for us to have a room, have a space, have a team to get this going.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited about this conversation, particularly today, because this has been a common question for us. And I think a lot of people are curious about our marriage and are we truly happy and showing up online. And I think there's a lot to talk about in that space for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get into it, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm so excited. We're just in a new phase of life now.
Yeah.
You're transitioning out of the military.
I'm done.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is, and it is perfect timing.
Yeah.
For you to be out of the military.
Yeah, it is perfect timing. And also, I retired you last year.
Yes.
Let's just talk about that real quick because you are thriving in your soft girl era. You are thriving as a wife, as the peacemaker in our home. How has that felt for you? Do you miss work? Do you want to go back to work? Do you
Absolutely not. It's funny because I always pictured myself as like a corporate girly. Like I wanted to climb, you remember, I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. Like that was always my dream. To be honest, I never thought we would be in a position to where I wouldn't have to work and I could just focus on home.
Yeah.
But as we've gotten older, it was always like, okay, how is a family supposed to fit into this? How are kids supposed to fit into this? And so I'm so glad that this was always God's plan for our life because I've never felt more fulfilled and had so much purpose. But I think just like I'm stepping into a new role, you've completely stepped into a new role as, you know, total entrepreneurship, provider of the family. How is that going?
I love it for one, but it's crazy because it just shows God's plans are not always our plans for our life. And God's plans is always better.
Always
You know what I'm saying? Because when I joined the military 10 years ago, I'm thinking, one, I'm about to climb the ranks.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to go into military medicine. I got into medical school. That's what moved us here to DC from Arizona.
Yep.
And then everything changed once I started posting content online. You know what I mean?
Insane. That was never our plan.
No.
It was never our plan.
Nope.
But now I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, absolutely not. And it just goes to show you should follow the voice of God and listen to him because I kept trying to make the screw fit. Like I really wanted to go into medicine, but I know my calling was inspiring people. And I feel like the vehicle to do that was through social media, and then brand deals started to come in, partnerships and speaking opportunities. And I'm like, wait a minute, this could be a lifestyle. And here we are a couple years later, I've been able to retire you and have an impact in a way that I think has just been so fulfilling for the both of us.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. But one of the things I want to ask you about, because we talk about our life a lot online. We talk about how we plan, how we show up in our finances, our traveling, our lifestyle. And sometimes people can look at that and be like, are they truly happy? Like, what really goes on behind the scenes in their marriage? And so I'm going to ask you what they basically ask us. Are you happy in our marriage? And I want you to give like an honest answer. Like, are you happy in our marriage?
Yes is the simple answer, but I think
you sound a little unsure.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think we're both so happy, but it goes beyond just being happy in our marriage. And I think we've both learned that in order to be happy in any relationship, happiness is an inside job. Happiness is personal, it's spiritual. And so to be happy in any relationship, whether it's a marriage, with your kids, your friends, your parents, whatever, you have to first be happy with yourself and who you are. And I don't think the way we approach happiness in our marriage, especially now that we've grown and we're more mature, is that neither of us are responsible for each other's happiness. I think that's our own personal responsibility. However, we are responsible for how we show up in our marriage and how we take care of each other and kind of the environment that we create in our relationship and in our home that's conducive to happiness. Because you could be, I could show up and be nasty to you, have an attitude towards you, be judgmental towards you. And then no matter how happy you are on your own, in your marriage, you're not necessarily going to be happy. So I do think there is a level of responsibility in any relationship that you're in to create an environment where the other person can be happy with you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like a lot of people go into relationships looking for that other person to make them happy. And I think early on, like we got married when we were really young. And so we naturally made each other happy. One, we were long distance. So when we saw each other, it was like, oh my gosh, like we're spending this time together. Your parents will fly you down or fly me up, right? And it was like we hadn't seen each other, but obviously happiness in a relationship when you're just dating compared to being happy in a marriage looks very different. And to your point, what we do well, and I'm thankful for this, and this took therapy, of course, this took trial and error and time for us, but what we do well is that we take responsibility for our actions and the way we show up in our marriage, which creates a happy environment, as you just explained. And so one of the things that you were on me early on in marriage was like, dude, you don't create emotional safety for me, and I didn't even really understood what that meant. I had to learn what that meant because I'm like, we talking, what do you mean? And so I had to learn how to show up to create a safe space for you to open up to me. And I think in turn, that made you happier and more content in our marriage. Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you this. Do you think that men and women define happiness in marriage differently? Does it look different for you than it does for me?
I think so. Like as I've gotten older and as we've gotten more mature in our marriage, because we've been married now for May 20th will be 9 years. Yeah. So we coming up on a decade and now we're in our 30s being married at 22, right? And as I've gotten older, I realized that what makes me happy is one, having a peaceful home, right? So like you creating, like I've been so just in awe of you making bread, making the house smell good, like creating a safe space for us to just enjoy our home. And then just inviting like that spirit of just like peace and love and happiness in the house. And so that makes, because when the pressure that's on me, and I'm thankful for it, is to make sure that I'm providing and I'm protecting, I'm taking care of you and I'm taking care of our family. I'm already fighting battles out in the world. I'm already dealing with, different things, different insecurities, from my past and all this other stuff. When I come home, that is my safe space. And so I'm thankful that like you provide that for me. So I think for men, we look for our wives, our partners to make a safe space for us in our home. Whereas I think for women, this is my perspective because I'm not a woman. I can't speak for y'all.
Let's see if he gets it right, ladies.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. But I think for women, it's more so that stability and that emotional safety, right? So knowing that you're protected, not just physically, but also emotionally, knowing that you're in a stable situation. So you're not worried about the bills. You're not worried about, even if I'm going to come home and be in like a negative mood, you're not walking on eggshells and stuff like that, right? So that stability and emotional safety, did I kind of hit it? Is that
no, I think that's the nail on the head. Like, I think that at the basic level, we're emotional.
Y'all are very emotional.
We are emotional creatures. And I think that like even beyond providing and being able to travel and all those things, I think there is so much peace and contentment in just being with somebody that makes you feel safe, emotionally safe, physically safe.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to ask because I feel like it's something that I really worked on because, you know, I come from a tough background, and that's like providing emotional safety for you was something I really had to work on, right? At which point did you feel like that happened for us? Like where you noticed that I was actually providing that for you, and what did that look like? What was I doing? So for the fellas out there, they can understand what that means. Like what was I?
Well, I ultimately think I think you tried. I think it was a level of early on in our relationship, you just didn't understand what I was asking for. I think that even when we disagreed on things, you were so adamant about, well, that wasn't my intention, that it felt dismissive of how I felt. And I think you've evolved into somebody that even if you don't agree with how I feel, you're going to listen and you're going to validate it. And you're going to explain yourself in a way that doesn't dismiss how I feel, but still make sure that I understand what your intentions are. But I will say, and God's timing is so perfect because I think people see us online today. And I always tell my friends too, like my single friends, my friends that are newly married, like you're seeing us 8-9 years into marriage. Like we weren't always in this place. And I think God's timing is so perfect because we weren't ready to show up on the internet and show our relationship early on in marriage. And I'm just so glad that we have this platform now and we're able to actually show up authentically and be able to genuinely be happy and not post from a place of, let me prove that I'm happy, but instead post from a place of, we're so genuinely happy with each other that we just want to share that with the world.
Yeah, it reminds me of a quote. I heard this from, I forget who, I think it was Alex Hormozy. He was like, everybody's jealous of what you got, but nobody's jealous of how you got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. It's like when you see where we are now, traveling, enjoying each other's company, going on dates, you know, actually enjoying being around each other and liking each other, that took work, that took time. And going back to what you said earlier about when you notice I did make that transition, that took a level of selflessness and accountability on my part to be like, hey, there's something not right here. And what I was struggling with when I was trying to create an emotional space, a safe space for you was whenever, you know, growing up, if you made a mistake, at least where I came from, it's like, it's the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? You're in trouble. It don't matter. You're a child. Stay in the child's place. You know, it doesn't matter what your intentions were. It doesn't matter if it was a mistake. It doesn't matter if it was okay. And you're also taught as a man to just be quiet and keep it moving. Don't show your emotions. And so whenever we had disagreements or whenever you took something wrong that I didn't intend for it to be wrong, my initial response or my instinct was to be like, that wasn't my intention though. Like, why are you taking it this way? And your explanation was always, okay, I get that's not your intention, but this is how it made me feel. Now I need you to speak to that. That's where I had to evolve. And I think that's where that work comes in. People be like giving advice about marriage. What are some of the common marriage advices? Like keep people out your business.
Don't go to bed mad.
Don't go to bed mad. Continue to date. You know, you can go on all the dates you want. But if you're not targeting the issue, then that's going to be the main thing that causes problems in your marriage. And I had to learn how to say, okay, even though my intent was this, I am sorry that I made you feel that way. Let's talk through this so I can change the way I'm showing up. So even if my intent is the right way, I'm still thinking about how I'm saying it so it doesn't come off wrong the next time. You know?
And we were so young when we got married that I think, picture us being 22, trying to figure each other out. We didn't even have ourselves figured out. You were still dealing with a lot of your childhood trauma, and I was dealing with like some mental health stuff. I've dealt with depression, I've dealt with anxiety. And so when you throw all of that into the pot, like you don't even know what to address first. And so a lot of times you end up projecting what's going on up here onto the person that you're married to. And I think it took us a minute. It took us years, actually. to grow into realizing like, okay, you're not responsible for my happiness. I'm not responsible for yours. That's an inside job. And so let us, while we're also building something together, go on our own personal journeys of making sure we're good individually too.
Yeah.
And I think I had to learn to take responsibility for like my mental health. And because when you are dealing with, you know, depression or you're dealing with anxiety, you're not good on your own. So how can I show up for you and be a good wife or be a happy wife when I'm constantly anxious or worried about something, or I'm waking up sad and I don't know why, right? So I think,
and I'm trying to fix it and I don't know what's going on.
And you're trying to fix it, and then you also feel like a responsibility to help. So I think we both had our own personal journeys that we had to go on and work through to be able to be at the point that we're at today.
Yeah, and we're still on that journey. I think one of the things that is a misconception when it comes to marriage is that if things are not good, if you're not happy, then it's time to dip out. Like, I don't have to deal with this. I can do bad all by myself. I'm good. Like, I got my own money. I got my own place. I got my own job. Why do I need this? And the truth of the matter is, marriage is, one, it's meant to be an example or a mirror of how Christ loves the church. Which is an example of selfless love.
Sacrifice,
right? The other thing too is marriage is a commitment for you to have a life partner. I don't care what relationship you've ever had in your life. If you think about any relationship you've had in your life, it's never always been happy. With your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, there's always going to be some level of friction. And so with your life partner, living with somebody, thinking that just because you're not happy, something's wrong, that is, you have the wrong approach to marriage. So people have asked me lately, like, hey, what do I need to work on before I get married? Understanding what marriage is. Understanding that this is not meant to make you happy. It is meant for you to have somebody to do life with, right? Like,
what do they do these days?
Yeah.
That is such a strong point. That I think that is like, that's the point that I want to get across to people is divorce rates are so high. People are not wanting to get married. They're not wanting to get into relationships. As soon as things get hard, they're out. They feel like they have so many options. Marriage is not supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to show you how to love the way that Jesus loves us. He forgives us. He gives us grace. He's selfless with us. He sacrifices for us. And that is a hard way to love somebody.
Some might say, well, then what's the point of getting married? What's the reward? Trust me, it's fulfillment. The reward is legacy. The reward is purpose and family. And guess what? A result of you showing up the right way, the reward is happiness. The reward is contentment. And so when there's moments of friction, when things are not going the way you want it to go, that's a moment to say, how can I work on myself? Because your partner is going to be a mirror to you every single day. You can hide from the world. It's humbling. You can hide from the world. You can hide from your truth. But your partner is going to be a mirror to show you, okay, clearly I need to work on my attitude. I need to work on my temper, my patience. For a lot of men, I got to work on my lust. I got to work on, you know what I'm saying? Your marriage is going to show you, this is what you need to work on, right? And you walking away from that, or you saying, I don't want to do this because this is too much friction for me, is you saying, I don't need accountability. I'm good. I can do bad all by myself. And that can lead to some major problems later on in life, for sure. You know what I'm saying? Loneliness, right?
I definitely think that when it comes to a lot of couples too, as soon as things get hard, they're like, I'm out. Like, to your point, I don't have to deal with this. I can do bad all by myself. But I think that those are the moments when you're called to look in the mirror and be humble and actually make those changes and say, I love you enough that I'm going to have the humility and I'm going to fix this. Not just because I want to be better personally, but because I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father.
And that's exactly what it means to choose your spouse each and every day. Because I grew up hearing this saying in church, and it's love is not what it says, it's what it does. Love is an action, it's a verb, it's a choice. It's to say, okay, even though I feel this way, I'm still gonna show up. I remember when we were really going through it, we were around like 25, 26. We had just built our first home. We should be totally happy, right?
Yeah.
I had my Mercedes Benz at that time. You know, you got your car. We just built a brand new home. The equity's going in the home. We're both thriving in our careers. We had our dog at that time. Things were great. But we were arguing in the house. And we were like annoyed with each other. There was a lot of resentment there that at the time we didn't have the language for what it really was, but it was resentment, things that were unsolved. And I remember it was like, hey, all right, we need to go to therapy. And one of the things I'm so glad we did was we chose to go with a relationship coach.
Yeah.
Because what she would do is we would go in, she would take Samantha for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, take me for 45 minutes, and then we would come in together.
Yeah.
And she gave us things that we both needed to work on, right? Because she had a moment to hear both of our issues and our resentment toward each other, and then give us something that we both need to work on. And it was up to us to choose to actually work on those things.
Yeah. And she also helped us. The reality of your marriage is you're going to fight. You're going to argue.
Yeah, you have disagreements.
She told us how to fight fair. And I think in those 45 minutes we had with her on our own, when she brought us back together, we were able to communicate what we had probably been saying to each other for months, but in a different way that was fair. It was respectful.
Yeah.
And it still honored what we were trying to fight for and continue to build.
Yeah. And that's like the most important thing. Like I had to realize that just because we're in disagreement, it doesn't mean that you're my enemy.
Yeah.
I also had to realize, and you did too, if you win the argument, you still lose.
Yeah.
If I win the argument, I still lose, right? Because one of the things we would always say after a day or two of not talking to each other is, once we finally got over it, we'd be like, I hate not talking to you. It's like this is stupid. Why are we doing this,
what
right?
What Jay-Z say? Nobody wins when the family feuds.
There you go. Nobody wins.
So
you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, maturity is understanding that as we resolve conflict, when we get better at that, what's really standing in our way? You know what I'm saying? Because we're two different people.
Yeah.
We come from very different backgrounds. And so getting back to happiness, that actually breeds a happy and healthy home.
I want to ask you a question. Do you feel like people going into marriages or relationships have an unrealistic idea of what it is supposed to look like in reality, whether because of social media or movies or whatever? Do you feel like it's an unrealistic idea?
I do think a lot of people have an unrealistic idea because I think we both had an unrealistic idea of it. Sometimes you go into it and you can have an idea of it based on either, like you said, social media, a movie, or your parents, or an example that, you know, a couple you've been watching for many years, you're like, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
But what you don't understand about all that stuff is that there was some work done behind the scenes.
Yep.
There were some things that had to get resolved behind the scenes.
Yep.
And I think that what we need to realize is the commitment doesn't start at the altar. The commitment starts before the altar. It starts before all the people show up to the wedding and they're nice, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were 22.
Yeah.
And
babies.
We were babies, man. We had no idea what it really meant. And I think that's why it was so hard. And so I actually can understand why the marriage rate is low. I can understand because it's like, why stay in this? But here's what I'll tell you is that I'm so glad we did. You know what I'm saying? Because once you work through it and then you find some synchrony, it's like you get through the norming phase and then the storming phase, and then you start performing. Yeah. Because now we can do our life meetings and our annual strategy meetings and see the result of what happens from that.
And see the fruits of our labor. And I think that that's one thing when it comes to social media couples is they're showing you the highlight reel. And I think that's why this platform and this podcast is so important, because we don't want to perpetuate this narrative that, you know, marriage is perfect and it's happy all the time. And I think it's important to have real conversations about, you don't walk into your marriage and you're just happy. You know, it takes sometimes years and years of unpacking and work to get there.
Yeah, and not all the time, but sometimes it does. Let me ask you this question. Do you feel, obviously we share a lot of our life online, how we do life together, travel, stuff like that. Do you feel pressure to kind of show up a certain way online? Like, do you feel like you know, like if we're in a bad space, do you still feel like you have to show up like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I really don't feel that pressure. And I think that to the point I made earlier, that God's timing is so perfect and us having this platform is so great, because even when we're not in a great place, like even when we might be fighting over something silly, I still love showing our relationship online. And I think about like a younger version of myself, like who would have just loved to see like someone that looked like me in a healthy relationship, traveling the world, doing all of these things. And so
as young as we were, because your parents had that, but as young, yeah.
But I think that I don't post from a place of, hey, let me prove that we're happy. I think we just have such a great life together, and we are so happy together that I just get excited to share that because it is authentically who we are.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I've been thinking about this. It's like, I think there's pressure if your audience is looking for like entertainment. Like, you know, there's a lot of couples that do like challenges and like pranks and different things like that, and or dance or whatever, which is like really entertaining and it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I can see how that can be a little bit tougher if you're not on the same page and you're not clicking all the time.
Yep.
Whereas like my content and your content is typically more so educational. I'm teaching about planning, strategizing. We're talking about finances and how to organize your finances to maximize being together and getting that growth from that. And then travel and stuff like that. And so I think it's a little bit easier, but I will say like, I'm okay with showing people the authentic version of us. I'm okay with saying like, hey, we're not perfect.
Yep.
We still argue. It's nowhere near as bad as before, but that's never gonna stop.
It's healthy to have disagreements and to have arguments and to have those opportunities to be able to have different opinions. We're two different people, two totally different backgrounds.
Yeah.
We should at some point still have disagreements and things that, you know, we need to work through. But I think to your point about like the way we've built our platform is it lends itself to being able to be authentic versus showing up and having to perform, you know, and laugh with each other and be happy when we maybe aren't necessarily. So.
Yeah. One of the statistics I researched last year that was like really shocking to me is that the marriage rate in our community for African Americans is around, don't quote me on this, I gotta look it up, but I think it's around 35% and dropping. And it might even be 25%, but I think it's 35% and dropping. When you look at the marriage rate in other communities, like, you know, the Asian community, where it's more so around like the 65 to 85% range, you see that there is a heavy contrast between the incomes. And so the income of households where folks are married compared to the income of household where folks aren't, those groups aren't married, you can see like a huge difference. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like marriage plays a role in not just happiness, but also wealth and building wealth?
Totally. Yeah, I think that, and we talk about this all the time, there are so many studies that show that couples, when they come together, especially when they join their finances, are just more wealthy. They have better relationship satisfaction. I read this book, The Two-Parent Privilege, and it talks about those marriage rates. And one of the things that, as I was reading it, was so sad was the only race, unfortunately, where you see those marriage rates declining so significantly is us.
Black race.
It's the Black culture.
Why do you think that is?
What's crazy is in the 60s, our marriage rate was 60%, and today it's 30%.
Yeah.
It's literally cut in half.
Right.
Now, some of those factors I don't think we're responsible for.
Of course,
you have mass incarceration. You have all of these things that play a role. Segregation, all of those things. But if you look at how things were in the 60s, to think that, you know, there was such a value on family back then. And you look at that statistic and I think you just see that sadly, I think the value of family and of commitment is also declining too. So that is something that I personally would like to see change in our culture, because the reality is it is a privilege to have two parents in the home. Yeah. And it does create, you know, better outcomes for the children that are raised in two-parent homes.
Yeah, I think we, right now we're living in a epidemic of like individualism and just like, you know, being so self-sufficient to the point where you really don't even need anybody. You can choose, but there are so many examples and studies. And not only that, I think humans are designed for connection, right? Like a lot of us are so focused on creation and production that we're choosing those things over connection.
Yeah.
And that's why our mental health is declining. That's why you see the suicide rate up. That's why you see a lot of things going wrong with choices when it comes to drugs and alcohol, is because we are not connecting and those relationships are not there. And so
we're in a loneliness epidemic, I think, right now.
For sure.
And those connections cannot be compensated for by online connections. We still need face-to-face. We still need
1000%.
to pick up the phone and call each other, FaceTime each other. And so I think that plays a role too.
Yeah, and in a marriage, I think like that is what's going to take your life to the next level, honestly, connecting with your spouse, because the word of God says a man shall leave his parents, find his wife, and the two shall become one, right? It says that one will send 1,000 flight, but two will send 10,000 to flight, right? It says that, when you have two that are working together, you get more for your labor. And so like it all points to togetherness and connection, which leads to happiness, in my opinion. Listen, guys, we are dropping an episode every single week and we are excited. Make sure that you subscribe. We're talking all things marriage, life, finances, motivation, everything on the Bailey Way podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you comment. We love y'all.
Bye.